The Idaho House has passed.
Let's talk about what's going on in Idaho with respect to trans teenagers and trans people in general, okay? This is one of the many bills that have been introduced, I believe more than 200, that directly exclude, harm trans people in this country. You heard that number correct, by the way. 230 plus bills have been introduced that specifically target trans people. At a certain point, there's going to be a single fucking bill for every single trans person in the country. Can you imagine? A tiny portion of the overall population. Why? Why are we covering this? Why are you spending that much time, effort? I'm not mincing my words anymore. The legislative assault on transgender people is a genocide against us. It seeks to remove us from public life. True. Remove all legal protections. True. Remove our trans children from parents. True. Remove their medically necessary care. It will kill people. Stop turning your head and looking away. Stop thinking you could just walk around in a land where 360 bills target us in every way imaginable and in ways that we couldn't even imagine every single day. Call this what it is and treat it as such. This isn't a difference in opinion anymore. This is meaningful action taken to limit our movement in society and to attack our quality of life to such a degree that it becomes unsustainable to go on living for many of us. Under the UN Charter, genocide is defined by any of the following factors with intent to destroy a group. Killing members of the group. A is definitely meant indirectly, in many ways directly. B is meant directly, causing serious bodily or mental harm to members of the group. Deliberately inflicting on the group conditions of life calculated to bring about its physical destruction in whole or in part. You don't have to round up trans people and fucking melt them in concentration camps for it to constitute like systemic eradication. And if you think that one day these anti-trans bills don't come around and impact you in some way, you are wrong. This is the creeping slow burn of fascism. Okay? It starts with the most marginalized. It starts with the weakest. It starts with trans people. It starts with undocumented immigrants. You know what I mean? Economic migrants, refugees, and the like. It will move to black and brown people in more meaningful ways than the current ways that our white supremacist systems eradicate black and brown existence. Okay? It's on homeless people too. Yeah, it already is. We're a bunch of frogs, and the water is boiling. And people don't get it. People don't see it. The irony, of course, is that as far as Nazi Germany goes, I mean, they did this too. They did this to trans people as well. Nazi Germany was very expressly anti-trans. This was one of the first moves. Also, people point to national, religious, ethnic, or racial as a part of the UN Charter on Genocide. UN Resolution 96.1 also includes political or other human groups. Six states have passed laws removing care that every medical organization has stated is medically necessary that is associated with a 73% reduction in suicide. This directly causes serious or bodily mental harm. Texas enforced child abuse efforts against parents of trans kids and investigated them, seeking to take them away. I have watched hundreds of hours of testimony in anti-trans hearings and can report many other legislators have threatened the same. Arkansas is considering a bill right now that would make it a sex crime for a transgender person to walk into a bathroom if a child is present. Yes, the first famous Nazi book burning that everyone always points to was actually research about trans people. It was medical research, medical journals that specifically were researching trans people. Yeah. Montana has passed a religious refusal of medical care and lets providers refuse medical care to transgender people.
To this bill, I
It's
rise
real.
in strong opposition to this bill for a handful of reasons, both personal and technical. We heard in the sponsors' opening here, as well as in committee, a list of things that this is designed to fight against. One of them is gender-affirming care for people like me. And we heard the sponsor reference the fact that this would be procedure-based. I want to point us to the bill that is not accurate. That is a misrepresentation. If we look at Section 1, subsection 5, healthcare service includes medical research. It includes things like notes related to treatment and a whole list of things, including at the end there, any other care or service provided. If you continue on to the next page in subsection 7, participate in healthcare means provide, perform, assist, advise, admit for the purposes of providing. So this is not, as the sponsor said, a nurse or physician having a conflict with care. This can be a receptionist refusing to admit to someone to the back, even if their nurse, their endocrinologist, their doctor all want to provide this service. In a charitable reading of the sponsor's intent, let's say this was procedure-based, it does not do the things that the sponsor purported it to do. If you were to target gender-affirming care as a procedure, and we talk about mastectomies, that would require, if it were truly procedure-based, to deny mastectomies to all people. If you were
like
truly
women with
opposed to
cancer,
hormone replacement therapy, that would require you to deny hormone replacement therapy to all people, whether it's a trans woman like.
yeah. I've said this many times as well. It's just like, it's not. It's not. It would literally be like denying any kind of hormone therapy to minors and adults that need it. But they're not doing that. They're literally fucking, they're carving it in a way that specifically try and impact and harm trans people. Yes, gender-affirming care is for cis people as well. Yeah, thyroid medication. I mean, it's just fucking crazy. I talk about it all the time. Like, I have balding medication. That's gender-affirming hormonal therapy, okay? You know? I can get it for fucking $10 a month. But or even if you had like prostate cancer, you know what I mean? In order to avoid prostate cancer, you need to take the same exact hormones that I'm talking about. Same exact pills that I'm talking about. They're DHT blockers, right? Like, that's crazy. That's crazy. You would have to literally fucking stop that from happening. Like, as far as blocking goes, top of the hour blockers in the form of a $5 a month subscription. Of course, that impacts everyone. You know what I mean? Equally, as a matter of fact, unless you're subscribed for $5 or for free with a Twitch Prime. Sorry. You can also get gifted a sub at the top of the hour if you want to block the top of the hour ad break. I'm sorry. You come here for brutal ad segues, okay? I don't give a fuck. And I'm here to deliver. Luna Lux. Santa Rain. VS. Thank you for the 10 gifted subs. Here's the 3-minute ad break now.
Like me, who takes exogenous estrogen, or whether it's someone who's had a hysterectomy, or someone who is postmenopausal and is looking for estrogen supplements. That is clearly not the intent of the bill. And what is actually going to happen is it will be a denial based on diagnosis. Something like, I am diagnosed with gender dysphoria. And the thing is, that is inherently discriminatory because you cannot parse my diagnoses from who I am. To deny me based on my diagnosis
Yep.
Passed a bill that would make it a felony for physicians to provide sex reassignment surgeries or puberty blockers or hormone treatment to transgender teens under the age of 18. The bill now heads to the Idaho State Senate amid desperate warnings from opponents who say this will lead to an increase in suicide rates among transgender teens. I'm joined now by Eve Devitt, a transgender teen in Idaho who is directly impacted by this bill, and her father, Michael Devitt. Thanks to both of you for being here. I know this is not necessarily what a 17-year-old wants to be doing on a Tuesday. And Eve, you testified before Idaho lawmakers on February 7th. I just want to run a little bit of what you said about that bill.
In less than 24 hours, I will be going on a plane to go to a consultation for SRS, or sexual reassignment surgery, which is planned to be taking place in a little over a year. I see this as my final step into the body that I should have been born into. This bill threatens to not only bar me from receiving this care, but also from accessing the hormones that have single-handedly not only improved, but saved my life.
What do you mean by saved your life? Not just improved, but saved your life?
I mean, okay, so before I went on testosterone blockers and then estrogen, I was in like the worst mental state of my life because I saw going through male puberty as this irreversible and horribly terrifying thing that would stop me from being able to live the life that I should have been able to, you know? And so it was absolutely horrifying. And I truly do believe that I would have ended up killing myself if I wasn't able to access that.
Michael, a lot of people who testified pointed out the conflict between the bill and Republican lawmakers' statements on other matters of support for parental rights and freedom. One GOP state lawmaker said that Idaho law says some choices are abusive or inappropriate, even for a parent. How do you respond to that?
It's really hard, honestly. I mean, we live in a state that values parental rights and religious freedom, yet the authors of this bill make it really clear that the only parental rights they are in favor of are those that they agree with, and religious freedom, the only thing they agree with is beliefs that they agree with. So as a family of faith and as parents who take parenting seriously, I never thought the state of Idaho would be our biggest enemy and trying to step between us and our kids and raising them.
So, Eve, one of the arguments you hear from opponents of body-altering treatments is that they should wait until you're an adult, 18. Why are they wrong?
Well, because you can't wait until you're an adult, because for the vast majority of trans kids, they won't be adults without this treatment. I wouldn't have made it past like 14 if I didn't have that treatment.
Because you would take your own life, is what you mean?
Yeah.
So, Michael, your daughter started estrogen about 3 years ago. Where do you think she would be right now if she had not had access to this treatment? And what is your message to the people watching right now who don't understand, who don't get it?
Remember, they're not just going after children or minors either. Medical care for minors is absolutely something that you should not stand in the way of. Just because you disagree with it doesn't change the reality, okay? It's like birth control. You know what I mean? It's unimaginable, and yet perfectly imaginable, as a matter of fact, in the United States of America, to like make up some fucking exception and be like, no, I don't think 16-year-olds should be on birth control. I don't believe in it. I think God told me that that's not allowed. What's it to you, motherfucker? What is it to you? Why the fuck what do you mean? Like, you don't think that it's all right? It's crazy. Yes, chat. Jake Tapper is asking these questions not from a contentious perspective, but asking these questions specifically because his job is to, at this point, offer the most common counters so that people can, and in a non-contentious way, so that people can hear it, okay? Jake Tapper is not awesome. He is a gigantic piece of shit. But right now, he's doing a good job.
Well, let me start with that. I didn't get it either. I didn't understand right away either. And so I totally get it. Like, but I would say to them, let's not make understanding a prerequisite for loving people and allowing them to live the lives that they feel led to live. But I don't think any of us can understand what Eve's going through, but Eve can understand what I'm going through as a parent or an adult or a physical therapist. So I think that isn't as big of a deal as we make it.
And Eve, this bill would subject physicians to felony charges if they provide puberty blockers or hormone treatments or gender-affirming surgeries to transgender minors. You've been treated by physicians with some of those treatments. Are you worried about physicians in Idaho?
I'm terrified. Yeah. It would be absolutely devastating, not only to me, but to so many other
Okay, that's a bit of a dumb question. Are you terrified about physicians in Idaho? Bitch, the point is not about physicians. The point is literally that it shuts off medical access to every trans person in the state. Oh, man. What about the physicians, dog? I mean, it's the same exact principle behind, like, the real victims of transphobia, physicians.
Trans people living in Idaho, so many trans kids living in Idaho, and so many physicians who just want to be able to give their patients these treatments that have been, legal for so long and that are tested and proven to work.
Jake, if I may, this is evidence-based medicine we're talking about, and the witnesses that the proponents of this bill brought in were really fringy characters that were literally suggesting things that flew completely in the face of the AMA and the American Academy of Pediatrics. I mean, this is a skilled group. I think they probably could have found astronauts against space travel if they'd looked hard enough. And the thing of it is, that's setting the standard of care in Idaho to be fringy, as opposed to evidence-based medicine, which my wife, who's a physician, and I love our kids too much to subject them to fringy medicine.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things that comes across, and there's certainly debates that can be had about girls' athletics and things like that, but when it comes to...
Her face! You fucking asshole! You fucking dumb bitch! Shut the fuck up. I told you. He's a fucking bitch, dude. Look at her face when he says that. Look at her fucking face.
I mean, I think one of the things that but when it comes to girls' athletics and things like that comes across, and there's certainly debates that can be had about girls' athletics and things like that, but when it comes to the cruelty that we see in this debate so often, the meanness about...
Yeah, I see it. I see it when it comes to girls' athletics. Like, shut the fuck up, dude. You're such a dumbass. The girls' athletic shit is a part of the same conversation. It's just normalizing the evisceration of trans people from public spaces, okay? That's it. Stop. It's completely fucking irrelevant. The only reason why you would ever bring that up is if you want to say, yeah, this shit sucks. It's completely fucking stupid. And that people are only using this as an entry point so they can fucking get in there and like drive home the main point of contention. And if you consider yourself to be a liberal, you're a fucking idiot if you're running with right-wing narratives here. Okay? It is so stupid. It is so clear that that's not what this is about. You don't even do it for other shit. Like, you wouldn't do that for, I don't know, anti-queer legislation that dictates that, like, a queer teacher cannot be outwardly queer or talk about, being gay at school. Okay, you wouldn't be like, well, this is about protecting children, and there's an argument to be had about that. Shut the fuck up. There is no argument to be had about that. You're just taking on right-wing framing on an issue, and that framing was deliberately crafted to be contentious. God damn, this shit makes me so mad. Nobody gives a fuck about women's sports. I'm sick and fucking tired of this conversation, okay? I'm sorry. I will not sit here and act like I give a fuck about women's sports. And I will certainly not do it about female high school athletes. Shut the fuck up. I will subject you to watching high school swim meets at fucking gunpoint with the state if you talk about this. I'm sick and tired of it, dude. Fuck. The state should forcibly, at threat of legal punishment, make you fucking watch female athletes. Like, they need to put you through this fucking thing where they, like, literally grab your eyes with, like, the Clockwork Orange machine and forcibly make you watch, like, swim meets and shit if you fucking ever talk about this. God damn, dude.
Some of the most vulnerable people in our society. It's really just remarkable and not how any faith teaches us to behave.
Yeah. I think it's interesting that you brought that up, because the reason why people are subjecting kids like me, trans kids, to this this harsh antagonism is because we are the most vulnerable group right now that are okay to attack. Because, before it was trans kids, it was gay kids. For that, it was gay adults. And so as those things have become more normalized, they can't attack that group anymore. And so we're just next on the chopping block, really.
I just remember hearing this story about George W. Bush when he was president, and he had a transgender classmate. You've probably heard it. But
Yeah.
I guess they had the Yale 25th reunion or whatever it was at the White House.
Mm-hmm.
And the transgender woman said, you might not remember me, I guess they were in the line, you might not remember me because back when I was at Yale, I was so-and-so. And then President Bush, not known for being a huge supporter of LGBTQ rights at the time, said, and now you're you. I thought that was a special story. Even Michael Devitt, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thanks for your courage coming on today. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks
Thanks
for
for
having
listening.
us.
Appreciate it.
And if you or anyone you know needs help, please call or text the Suicide Crisis Lifeline at 9.
From asking her about killing herself to a heartwarming story on George W. Bush, yeah. Jake Tapper is the adult mainstream media version of radical centrist YouTube. Yeah. Absolute fire take from 2018 Hasan. Anyway, it's still otherwise a good fucking it's a good video. It humanizes trans people, it humanizes trans teenagers. Obviously, trans people should not have to fucking advocate for their existence. But unfortunately, in this day and age, on in the planet that we live in, they kind of have to in order to survive. It's a necessity for survival. It's the same as like passing. Literally, like it goes beyond. It goes beyond like gender affirmation, being a part of something you want, for yourself, feeling better about yourself, avoiding suicide. But like in some instances, as it stands currently, I'm not saying that this is appropriate. I'm not saying this is a good thing, but like passing can be life or death.